An IRB is surprisingly agile, so crew need to secure themselves well, especially when operating in surf zones. In this video, you will see positions and techniques used by drivers and crew in a variety of on-water situations. As a rule, both driver and crew maintain at least 3 points of contact with the boat. The traditional position for crew is to sit on the front right-hand pontoon, with the left hand holding the bow rope handle, the right hand gripping the pontoon handle, and the left foot in a foot strap. From this position, the crew is able to affect the responsiveness of the IRB with shifts of their weight. A starboard turn can be assisted by leaning out, and a turn to port can be aided by crouching toward the centre of the boat. When travelling through the surf or into a choppy sea, the crew can move forward to keep the nose of the boat down. And backward when travelling down waves to keep the nose up. The driver sits on the left-hand pontoon, gripping the motor handle in the right hand and holding a pontoon handle with the left hand, with either foot in the driver's foot strap. Negotiating the surf in an IRB is a skill that improves with practice. It requires judgment of the conditions and control of the craft. The crew will assist the driver by keeping a sharp eye out, alerting them to nearby swimmers and surfers or hazards like rocks, shallow banks or buoy lines. When traversing waves, the crew can lift slightly off the pontoon to lessen impacts with bent knees. In general terms, a degree of assertiveness is required by the driver, but needlessly speeding at oncoming surf can be unproductive and dangerous, as this driver discovered when they lost their crew. When approaching a wave, the driver will throttle back, then just before hitting the white water, they will accelerate slightly to lift the bow. Sometimes, it's better to be patient and hold the IRB back in the white water until there is a lull in the wave action, rather than trying to punch through the wave and risking a capsize. For those in need of a rescue, a slight delay is a much better option than no IRB at all. Alternatively, it may be that the best way through the surf is not straight out. In order to find the safest passage, it can be more effective to run parallel with the waves for a distance. Parallel running should only be done if there is a clear and safe path through water deep enough to avoid hitting the bottom. A boat is vulnerable when broken waves approach from the side. To avoid being flipped sideways, the driver will turn to be as close to head-on as possible, and the crew can assist by shifting their weight to the side of the approaching wave. If a situation is reached where a green unbroken wave is curling and about to drop onto the IRB, the crew will assume the locked-in position, and the driver will crouch down and lean forward so that the wave can pass over. From an initially slow speed, the IRB is accelerated straight into the wave with sufficient force to punch through. As the name suggests, the locked-in position allows the crew to maintain better contact with the boat during manoeuvres. It's particularly helpful when punching through breaking waves. In the locked-in position, the crew keeps the bow rope tensioned by laying their right shoulder on the spray dodger with their right elbow tucked in and the right hand gripping the bow rope close to the front fastening. The left hand continues to hold the bow rope handle but tensions it behind the left hip and slightly downwards. From here, it may be possible to also grip the pontoon handle for extra security. The elbows are kept as close to the body as possible without lying on them. The left foot remains in the foot strap, but the right foot presses into the base of the pontoon where it meets the hull. All the while the knees are bent and the crew looks forward at the oncoming surf. If the driver does decide to punch a wave, they'll call it to give the crew enough time to adopt the locked-in position.
Punching! Punch! Punch!
And while not every wave requires the crew to be locked in, failing to do so when it is necessary can leave the driver feeling very lonely. An IRB is most stable when the motor can be used to meet the surf head-on. This is why drivers approach from the shore when retrieving people in the surf zone. A shoreward moving boat is vulnerable to being picked up and carried by a wave. You can see what happens here when the engine fails and a wave overtakes the boat. In the rare event of a capsize, the crew and driver will immediately check that other people, such as patients, are accounted for and safe. Then an attempt to right the boat can be made by climbing on the upturned hull and using the capsize rope. Both crew and driver can use their combined weight to right the craft, being sure to not have it land on themselves in the process. If the engine doesn't restart, the operators can use the paddles, or they can ride the pontoons as the waves carry the boat shoreward. As we've seen, moving toward the shore is best done under the controlled power of the engine, and even then it's best to avoid travelling over steep or large waves. The safest approach is to move at the same speed as the waves, slotted in behind the crest of the wave in front. Not only is this safer on the approach to shore, but once there, the driver is able to take the IRB further up the beach on the surge. In a normal course of events, when the driver decides to return to shore, the crew person gives the return to shore signal so that a patrol member on shore can guide the boat away from people inside the break who may not be visible from behind the waves. During the run to shore, the crew person actively communicates with the driver, relaying any signals from patrol members and pointing out people in the water. Then, together with any available help, the boat is dragged a safe distance up the beach. In this video, we've seen that the crew's position affects the handling of the boat, and that learning to lock in quickly and effectively is an important skill to practice. We've also seen that drivers need to develop their boat handling skills in a variety of surf conditions. With practice and teamwork, the driver and crew of an IRB can find the right balance between assertiveness and safety that will maximise the potential of this powerful life-saving tool. In the next video, we will see skills and techniques used when performing rescues.